Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night again and again, walking to the bathroom telling yourself, this is just part of getting older, while deep down something feels off? What if I told you that this isn't just aging at all? What if it's your kidneys quietly failing right now without pain, without warning, and without giving you a second chance to notice? I'm Dr. Johnny, and this is one of the most dangerous mistakes I see people make. Kidney damage doesn't scream, it whispers. And by the time most people hear it, over half of their kidney function is already gone. Nighttime urination, poor sleep, morning fatigue, swelling around the eyes. These aren't random inconveniences. They are red flags your body raises long before dialysis, long before hospitalization, when there is still time to slow things down. But here's the part no one tells you. Protecting your kidneys isn't about aggressive treatments or extreme diets. It's about understanding why your kidneys are struggling and learning how to reduce their burden before permanent damage sets in. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to recognize the early warning signs most people ignore, why kidney stress destroys your sleep first, and what simple daily changes can help you protect your kidneys naturally, safely, and realistically before it's too late. And once you understand this, you'll never look at your sleep, your diet, or your kidneys the same way again. Most people don't realize this, but nighttime is not just for sleep. For your kidneys, night is the most critical recovery window they get all day. During the daytime, your kidneys are under constant pressure. Every meal you eat, every drink you take, every bit of salt, protein, medication, and toxin has to pass through them. They filter nonstop, hour after hour, often without rest. By evening, especially in people over 50, the kidneys are already exhausted. But something changes at night. When you lie down, blood flow redistributes. The body shifts into repair mode. Stress hormones like cortisol begin to drop. The nervous system slows. And for the kidneys, this is supposed to be the moment when workload decreases and self-repair begins. That is why many people notice something surprising. They wake up one morning and say, last night felt different. I slept deeper. I didn't wake up to urinate as much. My body feels lighter. This isn't imagination. It's physiology. Studies in nephrology show that kidney blood flow and filtration pressure become more stable during proper nighttime rest, especially when the kidneys are not overloaded by late meals, excess salt, or heavy protein. In simple terms, when you stop attacking your kidneys at night, they finally get space to breathe. I once spoke with a man in his early 60s who told me, Doctor, I didn't change my medication. I didn't start any supplements. All I did was eat lighter at night, and the next morning my face wasn't as swollen. That's not magic. That's reduced renal strain. Here's the science behind it. At night, the kidneys are extremely sensitive. If sodium levels are high, they retain water. If protein waste is excessive, they must work harder to clear urea and creatinine. If digestion is heavy, blood is diverted away from repair and back into processing food. That's why late dinners, salty soups, processed foods, or large portions can quietly sabotage kidney recovery without pain, without warning. Research shows that nocturnal kidney stress is strongly linked to nocturia, poor sleep quality, and faster progression of chronic kidney decline. In fact, people with early kidney dysfunction often experience nighttime symptoms years before daytime lab values become alarming. So when someone says, I felt better after just one night, what really happened is this: their kidneys were finally allowed to function under less pressure. But here's the crucial point. This only happens under the right conditions. Nighttime is not automatically healing. It becomes healing only when you remove the obstacles. Think of your kidneys like a factory that never shuts down. During the day, production is intense. At night, maintenance crews are supposed to come in. But if trucks keep arriving with heavy loads, repairs never happen. That's exactly what late eating does. This is why some people feel dramatic improvement after just one night of lighter intake. Less fluid retention, less inflammation, fewer bathroom trips, deeper sleep, clearer mornings. And this is also why others feel no improvement at all, because their kidneys never truly rest. Understanding this changes everything, because it tells us that kidney health isn't only about what you eat, but when you eat and how much burden you place on your body during its most vulnerable hours. Nighttime is the testing ground. It reveals whether your kidneys are coping or quietly failing. But knowing that the kidneys recover at night is only the beginning, because there's one simple overlooked factor that determines whether this recovery actually happens or completely collapses. But just knowing this isn't enough because there's another factor far more powerful that can either protect your kidneys overnight or overload them even faster. Once you understand that nighttime is when the kidneys are most vulnerable and most capable of recovery, the next question becomes obvious. What you eat before sleep decides whether your kidneys rest or struggle. Most people assume kidney support must come from expensive supplements, rare superfoods, or complicated medical diets. But in reality, one of the most kidney-friendly choices is also one of the cheapest and most overlooked foods on the table. It's not a pill. It's not a powder. It's a simple handful of vegetables. I remember a patient who told me, "Doctor, I don't have money for special foods. I just eat what's available." And that's exactly why his kidneys responded so well. Because the vegetables that reduce kidney burden are not exotic. They're familiar, they're humble, and they work by doing something very specific. They don't demand much from the kidneys. Here's what matters. Your kidneys don't care how healthy a food sounds. They care how hard they have to work after you eat it. Many foods marketed as healthy are actually heavy on the kidneys, high protein, high potassium, high sodium, or difficult to metabolize at night. For someone with aging or weakened kidneys, that extra workload shows up immediately: more nighttime urination, worse sleep, and morning swelling. But certain vegetables behave differently. Vegetables like sweet potato leaves, water spinach, cabbage, or similar leafy greens share three kidney protective traits. They're low in heavy protein. They're relatively low in potassium when eaten in moderate portions. And they're easy to digest, especially when cooked simply. That combination matters more than people realize. Clinical nutrition research consistently shows that reducing dietary acid load and nitrogen waste lowers renal stress, especially overnight. In simple terms, when food produces less metabolic waste, the kidneys don't have to fight as hard to clean the blood. That's why people notice changes so quickly. One woman told me I didn't change anything else. I just replaced my heavy dinner with a small bowl of greens. Within days, she slept longer. Within a week, her ankles were less swollen, not because her kidneys healed overnight, but because they were finally working under humane conditions. This is where the idea of one handful becomes important. More is not better. Overeating even healthy food still forces filtration. A small portion of the right vegetables acts like a buffer. It provides fiber, mild alkalinity, and hydration without overwhelming digestion. Blood sugar remains stable. Insulin spikes are lower. Inflammation decreases, and when inflammation goes down, kidney filtration becomes smoother. That's why this works best at night. At night, your body wants calm. Light digestion, minimal waste, vegetables support that rhythm. Contrast that with late-night meat-salty soups, instant noodles, or processed snacks. Those foods flood the bloodstream with sodium, urea, and metabolic byproducts exactly when the kidneys are least prepared to handle them. And the kidneys pay the price quietly. Here's something most people don't hear from doctors. Kidney decline doesn't accelerate because of one big mistake. It accelerates because of small nightly overloads repeated for years. That's why a simple vegetable can make such a noticeable difference. It's not a cure, it's a relief. Think of it like removing weight from a strained joint. The joint doesn't heal instantly, but pain decreases movement, improves, and damage slows. The kidneys respond the same way. This is why people say, "I felt better after one night." What they're feeling is reduced congestion, better fluid balance, and calmer filtration. Not a miracle, but a meaningful shift. And here's the transition most people miss. Choosing the right vegetable is only half the equation, because the timing, preparation, and portion decide whether that handful truly helps or quietly cancels its own benefit. But just knowing which vegetable helps isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous that can undo all of this if you get it wrong. So now we arrive at the most misunderstood part of kidney care. Because knowing which vegetable helps is not enough. And eating it every day doesn't automatically mean you're helping your kidneys. In fact, this is where many people quietly cancel all the benefits without realizing it. I once met a patient who proudly told me, "Doctor, I eat vegetables every night." But when I asked how and when the truth came out, large portions, late dinners, stir-fried with salt, oil, and sauce, sometimes eaten just an hour before bed. His kidneys weren't resting. They were still working overtime. This is the uncomfortable truth. Even healthy food becomes harmful to the kidneys when eaten at the wrong time, in the wrong way, or in the wrong amount. Let's break this down clearly and simply. First, timing matters more than most people think. At night, digestion naturally slows. Blood flow shifts away from the gut and toward repair systems. If you eat too late, your body has to choose between digestion and recovery, and digestion always wins. Studies on circadian rhythm and renal function show that late-night eating increases nocturnal kidney workload, raises nighttime blood pressure, and worsens sleep fragmentation. This is especially true in adults over 50. That's why the same vegetable can help at 6 p.m., but hurt at 9:30 p.m. Eating earlier gives your kidneys a window of calm. Eating late steals that window away. Second, portion size is critical. One handful is not a metaphor, it's a limit. More food means more waste, no matter how clean the food is. Fiber, potassium, water, and plant compounds all still have to be processed. For weakened kidneys, excess volume at night leads to fluid retention, nocturia, and morning swelling. Research consistently shows that smaller evening meals reduce nighttime urination and improve sleep quality in people with early kidney dysfunction. So if you're eating a bowl when your kidneys only needed a handful, you're not supporting them, you're testing them. Third, preparation can make or break everything. Boiled, steamed, lightly cooked. These methods lower potassium concentration, reduce digestive demand, and avoid inflammatory fats. But frying vegetables, especially with salt sauces or processed oils, adds sodium and oxidative stress. That turns a kidney-friendly food into a hidden burden. I've seen people say vegetables don't work for me, but what they were really eating was oil, salt, and seasoning with vegetables attached. The kidneys don't get fooled. Now here's the part most people never hear. Kidney support is not about doing something extreme once. It's about removing small nightly stressors consistently. When you eat a light, simple portion of vegetables early in the evening, something powerful happens. Blood pressure stabilizes, fluid balance improves, inflammatory markers decrease, sleep deepens, not overnight miracles, but measurable relief, and that relief compounds. Nephrology research shows that reducing nightly renal strain slows functional decline more effectively than sporadic dietary changes during the day. In other words, how you treat your kidneys at night shapes how fast they age. That's why people who do everything right during the day but ignore the evening still feel stuck. Nighttime decides the outcome. So if you remember nothing else, remember this. The right vegetable eaten too late becomes a problem. The right vegetable eaten in excess becomes a problem. The right vegetable cooked the wrong way becomes a problem. But the right vegetable eaten early, lightly, and simply becomes relief. And this brings us to the final, most important realization. Because even if you eat perfectly tonight, even if your sleep improves, even if your kidneys feel lighter tomorrow morning, there's still a bigger question. Is this just a temporary improvement? Or can this approach actually protect your kidneys long term? But just knowing how to eat correctly still isn't enough, because there's another factor more dangerous than all of this combined that determines whether your kidneys stay stable or continue to decline. After understanding when to eat and how to eat that simple handful of vegetables, there is one final question that matters most. Why does this method work quietly, steadily, and sustainably, especially for people over 50? Because kidney health is not rebuilt by sudden miracle foods. It is restored through small, repeatable habits that reduce daily stress on the kidneys. Let me tell you a short story. Mr. David, 62 years old, had lived for years with borderline kidney function. Not severe enough for dialysis, but always hovering in the watch closely zone. He tried supplements, detox teas, even extreme diets. Nothing lasted. What finally helped wasn't something exotic, it was consistency. Every evening, he ate a modest portion of simple leafy greens, prepared lightly at the same time each day. No overload, no fasting extremes, just predictability. And that predictability is exactly what aging kidneys crave. From a physiological standpoint, kidneys function best when metabolic demand is stable. Studies show that fluctuating sodium intake, irregular protein, loads, and late-night heavy meals increase glomerular pressure and oxidative stress. In contrast, diets emphasizing fiber-rich vegetables consumed at regular times help stabilize blood glucose, reduce acid load, and lower inflammation markers such as CRP and uric acid. One clinical review published in the Journal of Renal Nutrition reported that increasing vegetable-based fiber intake by just 10 grams per day was associated with a significant reduction in chronic kidney disease progression, particularly in older adults. Why? Because fiber feeds gut bacteria that reduce uremic toxins, substances kidneys otherwise struggle to filter. This is where the one handful of vegetables method becomes powerful. It doesn't overwhelm weakened kidneys with excess potassium or protein. Instead, it lightens the filtration burden, especially when vegetables are cooked properly and eaten at the right time. Over weeks, this lowers nighttime blood pressure spikes and supports better sleep, two factors closely linked to kidney longevity. But the real magic is behavioral. Extreme health plans fail because they demand willpower. This method survives because it demands almost none. A small habit done daily creates what doctors call metabolic safety. The kidneys no longer brace for sudden shocks, salt bombs, sugar crashes, or protein overloads. They work calmly, evenly, and efficiently. That's why this approach is especially effective for middle-aged and elderly people. Aging organs don't need stimulation, they need relief. Think of the kidneys like an old engine. You don't fix it by revving harder. You fix it by using cleaner fuel at a steady pace without sudden surges. Over time, efficiency improves, not dramatically, but reliably. This is also why people who follow this method often report secondary benefits: less swelling in the legs, fewer nighttime bathroom trips, improved morning energy. These are not coincidences. They are signs of reduced renal strain. And here's the key point most people miss. Kidney decline doesn't usually come from one big mistake. It comes from thousands of small daily burdens. This method works because it quietly removes those burdens one evening, one meal, one handful at a time. However, there is something even more important. Even the best foods eaten at the right time can fail if one hidden factor is ignored, a factor that silently accelerates kidney damage without pain or warning. But knowing this alone is not enough, because there is another, even more dangerous factor you must understand next. As we come to the end of this video, I want you to pause for just a moment and take a deep breath. If you've made it this far, it tells me one important thing: you care about your kidneys and you care about your future health. And that already puts you one step ahead of most people. Kidney problems don't happen overnight, and recovery doesn't come from miracles. It comes from small, consistent choices made with understanding instead of fear. You don't need expensive supplements, extreme diets, or complicated routines. Sometimes real healing begins with something as simple as knowing when to eat, what to eat, and why your body responds the way it does. When you treat your kidneys gently, they often respond more kindly than you expect. If your kidneys are weak, tired, or struggling, please remember this: it is not too late. The human body has an incredible ability to recover when it is supported instead of overloaded. Start slow, listen to your body, respect rest, especially at night, eat with intention, not anxiety, and never underestimate the power of simple foods when they are used correctly. I encourage you to save this video so you can come back to it later. Watch it again, especially the parts that made you pause or think, because those moments usually matter the most. Share it with someone you love, especially parents, grandparents, or anyone who may be silently dealing with kidney issues without knowing where to start. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Every week I share clear, practical, science-based guidance to help you protect your kidneys, reduce unnecessary damage, and build habits that support long-term health. No fear tactics, no false promises, just honest medical knowledge explained in a way you can actually use in daily life. My goal is simple: to help you make informed decisions so your kidneys can work with you, not against you as you age. Good health is not about perfection. It's about awareness, balance, and consistency. Please take care of yourself. Your kidneys work for you every single day, silently and tirelessly. They deserve patience, understanding, and respect. And as long as you're willing to learn and take small steps forward, there is always hope for improvement. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue learning how to care for your kidneys in a safer, smarter, and more sustainable way.